Welcome to Three Films and a Podcast, the show where Destiny brought together three friends to enhance each other's cinematic journey by watching three new movies in a series of themed rounds. There is no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode, as all film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy!
You have found yourself and your family feuding over planetary stewardship. You know what I mean. Who doesn't relate to that? Well, your family is in trouble. Ever seen the movie Anastasia? You're basically Anastasia. You've been welcomed by an indigenous people as their messiah, and now you and some mighty worms you've become entangled with can bring down the imperial conglomerate. If this sounds like you, then you may be Paul Atreides in the 1984 smash box office bomb, Dune, adapted by David Lynch. Welcome back to Three Films and a Podcast. We are three folks challenging each other and all of you to watch movies you've never seen before. You can find us anywhere you find pods on social media at Three Films Pod, but we prefer you check us out on YouTube because that's just the best way to view us. And
because you could. I love it.
Just an amazing delivery there.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Just how we drew it up.
Yeah. I was going to say, also the good thing about YouTube is you can see my face trying to put together how Anastasia and Dune tie-ins, having never seen Anastasia. I feel like I have a very warped sense on that movie now. If I ever watch it, I'm like, all right, where's the worms? You know, like this must be, Matt says it's the same thing.
It might be a stretch, but you know what? You'll have to see Anastasia now.
Yeah, I just have to believe you. Like, Matt's probably right. I believe him.
If there's anyone out there who loves Anastasia and feels like it is underappreciated, reach out to us.
Let us know.
That would be my wife. She loves that movie. And
really?
I know.
Oh, we could get the better Draper on here.
That might be time to get Kate on the pod.
Yeah. She's ready to stand for Anastasia.
All right. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, as always, I'm joined by Ben Lawhorn.
Hello.
He already said hi.
I did. I already started talking.
And of course, Silent Steve up in the corner, Tyler.
He was not talking.
He's saving it.
His lack of talking. I'm going to say what I wanted to say, which was, I want to spit once on your head. Just a little spittle in your face.
Just a little spittle.
What a line. What a line.
Unbelievable.
Just brutal. That's what I wish I had said instead of hi.
Fucking disgusting.
So gross.
I have to imagine that line was like pulled from the text. And it's always amazing to me, like what makes it from the text. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe they're just like, you know what?
I mean, that line has to go in. Like,
yeah.
That's the one knock I now have against the new Dune. Is
where's the spittle
line in?
No spittle?
Dr. Star.
The only reason I am here is that I've read 2 of the 6 or 7 or however many Dune books there are.
Resident Dune expert here.
And as far as I can remember, no spittle occurs.
Mm-hmm.
No talk of that. Well, there is actually a decent amount of spittle talk just by virtue of living on Arrakis, but
yeah.
As
I must have read a different Dune book because I remember chapters of spittle.
Just spittle.
Chapter after chapter. You're like, Herbert, what are you doing, man?
What's going on, man?
Enough with the spittle.
You love spittle. I don't know what to say.
Just a little spittle. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I mean, today we're joined. I'm excited to have our dear friend Jake Draper on once again. He's joining the 6 Timers Club? I've lost track.
It's climbing the ranks.
Yeah,
I'm doing my best here.
The jacket's in the mail.
Been here more than me, I think.
It's probably with the 5 Timers
collared shirt. Is the first collared shirt guest? Like, you're setting a high bar here, man.
You know, I again, knowing we were talking about Dune 1984 version.
No, you just never do.
I had to come correct. I had to come correct.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. Yeah, we're excited to talk about Dune. Jake, do you have anything you want to plug on here?
You know, this is basically the only thing I do that's not just like for myself. So McDonald's recently upgraded their burgers.
Okay.
They started
they need the promo.
They need it. You know, the struggling little mom and pop McDonald's. They're tossing the onions on the griddle with the patty. They're
Oh,
doing
dear.
fewer patties at a time. They're hitting the cheese on the griddle, so it's meltier.
Getting a little when did they start this?
They've started. It will be worldwide in 2024, but it's across several markets as of like a month ago. And Salt Lake City market area is one of them. So, and they improved the bun too.
Just right when I left.
A new bun.
They knew, actually. Tyler's getting out of town, and we're gonna
start it now. Right when he leaves.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Daily, even good things happen in Salt Lake, so you know.
So
I feel like I need to have McDonald's tonight now. It sounds very enticing.
Dude, the double cheeseburger, no ketchup, no mustard, add mac sauce.
Oh, jeez. That's our first sandwich recommendation on the pod.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's taken this long.
I know. I mean,
it's astounding.
Because now I feel like I need to go have one.
Can I drive up and say, give me the Draper, and they'll know what they're talking about?
I'm trying. At the one by the prison. At the one by the prison. Maybe.
Yeah.
That used frequents the prison.
Yeah.
For many reasons.
Jake, I can only hope that you speak this passionately about our podcast when you're not on here.
I do. I really, really do. You guys are the new McDonald's burgers of film podcasts.
Yes. I mean, it's almost 11 o'clock where I'm at, and I'm ready to. I've already had dinner, but I'm like, I might need a Big Mac.
Yeah. Fire.
Ooh, that's a great call.
Well, what's the southernmost location that's got this rolling? Do you know?
Gosh, I don't, but I will check because it's relatively limited markets.
All right. I think the inside scoop on this.
We're going here.
Yeah.
Can we just pivot to a McDonald's pod real quick?
Dude,
I would happily be on a McDonald's pod, honestly.
We're going over an hour.
If we just cover each menu item, I would love to run a McDonald's pod.
Yeah. Did any of you guys see
Should that be our Patreon?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. Fast food coverage for the Patreon.
Okay. It looks mostly Western states, so you might be out a lot, Tyler. LA, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Sacramento, Phoenix, Vegas, Salt Lake, Denver, Boise, Tucson, and nearby cities. So until you find your way back home.
Look, it's an even trade. There's an Alamo Draft House 15 minutes from me.
Yeah.
So
that was a huge find.
Yeah.
You know,
the universe is still working in your favor.
I'm in a pretty small town. Like I am not in a populated part of the country. I mean, DC is real close, but the Alamo thing is still tripping me out.
Yeah,
I would give up 10 of the nearest McDonald's for one Alamo Draft House.
No deal.
That's it. No, you can't just say no. It doesn't affect you. I'm not taking yours.
I reject that deal as well. I veto that trade.
On behalf of Salt Lake County. Yeah, this gets accepted every day. I'll throw in some cash consideration as well.
Oh, there you go. Couple first round picks. That's great.
No deal.
All right.
You can't have it.
Well, Tyler might not do that deal, but he might Dune.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I see.
Matt, what you doing?
How you doing?
I am doing good. So this is our second movie in our remakes round. What we're doing is we're watching two film versions of the same story. We just finished A Star Is Born. We will be watching a West Side Story after this. But right now we're in Dune country. I nominated this because Tyler dared me to, basically.
You're not one to turn down a dare.
I'm not one to turn down a dare. Ben was trying to get me to select one, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to choose. And Tyler was like, you should do Dune. I was like, all right.
If you're not chicken.
Yeah.
That was the rest of the text.
What he's not saying is that I had a weirding module held to his temple. And I was about to yell something very aggressive.
Yeah.
As Tyler does.
Tyler's going to yell his name.
You should do Dune, Matt. Don't make me get loud.
No, but a couple things played into this, right? There's the new Dune trailer for the Dune Part 2. Ben has not seen the new Dune.
Yeah.
He also had not seen Dune 84. Tyler had not seen Dune 84.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? I had seen both of them, but what we tried to do on the pod is we tried to bring others up with us. And so I was like, you know what? I do have some altruistic bones in my body. I'll bring these two up to my
Appreciate
level.
it. Yeah.
Someone's
nice
got
up
to do
here.
Don't want them treading water any longer. I'll bring them aboard. So, anyways, that's why we're here. And I guess I had seen this before. I'll get into my thoughts a little later on. Jake, I'm dying to hear when did you first watch this, and like what were your feelings of it? And also, did you watch it before or after the Denis Villeneuve movie?
That is a great question. So it's funny. I was not, I grew up a Star Wars kid for sure. So that was, those VHS tapes got burned out in the VCR. And I'm a pretty avid reader, just generally of anything. And I like sci-fi. And so it was kind of odd that I hadn't gotten to Dune before. But when the movie was coming out, I did Dune with a book club of mine. And I really liked it. I thought it was really good. You see like it as the text for so many sci-fi stories, including Star Wars, that Lucas, like, I was going to say blatantly ripped off, but that's not it. It's more like he homages, he references like very nakedly and openly the Dune, talking about spice is kind of the drug in Star Wars, the desert planet from whence the young, hero comes from. So it was kind of interesting to read it from that perspective and seeing how everybody else kind of ripped it off and does some things a little bit better, but it's a unique and weird and kind of interesting book. So I read the first couple of those books. I saw the Denis Villeneuve movie before this one. This one I actually watched for the pod because I have always wanted to. I never had, and I wanted to compare it against all of my relative Dune knowledge. And so that was kind of where I'm coming at Dune 1984. This was the most recent Dune thing that I've seen, and I'm comparing it against all sorts of other media, including the graphic novel, at least the part that is available. It's pretty good. But yeah, so I'm not, there are many more hardcore Dune experts than I, but I like it enough to feel pretty confident and comfortable in speaking to some of the interesting choices that were made both by and for David Lynch when he directed and put out this movie.
Yeah.
So, like, speaking of, like, what was your... So I think it's interesting, like, you talk about the correlation to Star Wars here. Apparently, Lynch turned down an offer to direct Return of the Jedi to make this movie.
Oh, wow.
And he did it basically out of respect for George. The quote is like, those are your movies, not mine. I'll just go do Dune. Which, like, I mean, David Lynch is fine, but it's curious to wonder, like, how Return of the Jedi would have turned out, because this movie is like, I don't know, man. I enjoyed it, but it's like,
there would have been 10 times more Jabba.
Yeah, like
Jabba would have been so much more disgusting. He would have been even grosser.
So much more. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. Is like, I'm just thinking of how like disgusting Star Wars would have been if Lynch had done it. Like, this movie is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, so gross.
It is nasty. The scene, and it's funny because comparing Jabba the Hutt against Baron Harkonnen, or Harkonnen, however they pronounce it in this one, is similar-ish, I guess. When he's like, that one scene when he's flying around and like he's just gushing gloop and nastiness. Oh, so disturbing in like a cool way? Question mark, I guess. Just like a crazy way. No,
yeah.
David Lynch's Star Wars would have been nasty Jabba, and the Ewoks would have been so much scarier and not cuddly at all.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have sold as many plush toys, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because they thought that Dune would be this way. In kind of going back and looking at this, they did have a line of toys. They've got the bed sheets and all of that stuff. They thought that this was kind of it. Yes, they thought that it was a little bit of a take against Star Wars, and they had intended to do kind of more of the series, and that's why Princess Irulan, her little face and back and forth, that was like a late addition. And I read that the actress Virginia Madsen was signed for 2 more movies after this one, and so she was a setup and leading into more stuff. But I don't know who or how, thought that this would resonate with the kids like Star Wars. Though granted, they did say that this was supposed to be Star Wars for adults too. So I think they were kind of crossing against that line, kind of in the way that some of those 80s movies kind of went up and down, like thinking Ghostbusters, stuff like that, where it's not quite a kid's movie, not quite an adult movie, kind of all ages type thing. But yeah, I'm not buying the Baron Harkonnen action figure anytime soon.
I would buy Sandworm plush though in a heartbeat. Like that'd be pretty cool. Like I'd be all over that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be a good body pillow.
Right?
Plush sandworm.
Yeah.
That's got to exist. It's got
to be mouth open though, because when the mouth is closed on those things, it's like, all right, this is extremely phallic. And I get there's only so many ways a worm can look. Like I understand that, but it's like, wow, like you guys just like really went for it.
David Lynch.
Yeah.
The staff, I mean, the crew might have been on board with it, but like there was probably a crew member like, should we?
Like, is this
David
okay?
Lynch is just like,
the kids are going to love it.
The
kids are going to love it.
It's a worm. It's a space worm.
It's a space worm.
It's for the kids.
Name 3 ways a worm can look. Go ahead, try. Name 3.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because I thought that was one of the best effects in the movie, though. I felt like somehow those worm puppets looked really big. They felt huge and lumbering. And I thought as bad as some effects were, I thought that was on the other side of actually looking really good and really cool.
I agree. This is surprisingly, even to me, or especially to me, I don't know who else would be surprised by this, but this is my first David Lynch movie. I've never seen anything else by him. So this was a real interesting way to kick it off. That's like, I think putting it lightly, this is such a weird fucking movie. Like,
just movies or like David Lynch period?
David Lynch period. I've never watched Twin Peaks. Nothing. This is my first. Mulholland Drive's been on like my 2 watch lists forever. And, hopefully at some point we'll get around to that. But yeah, no, I haven't seen anything by him other than this. And I mean, it was exactly what I was expecting, which is really weird. Like even as someone who's read the book, I was like, oh yeah, this is weird, isn't it? Like I kind of forgot how weird this is. And I did love the practical sets, and I think the worms were one of the best special effects as well. But some of that like blue screen was just a nightmare. It was so bad. I mean, what are you going to do? It's 1984. I was really surprised though to see that like the music was done by Toto. Like when that showed up on there, it's like, wait, what? Hold on.
And it rules.
Yeah.
It did rule.
Yeah.
The way that it was like, you don't hear that hardly ever in a score for a movie where the main instrument is a guitar.
Yeah.
Like that, it's guitar and choir, like that combo. And it ripped. It was
so good. And there's definitely times when like it went full Toto, I was like, okay, this is rad. And it just, it made me think of like Queen and Flash Gordon, even though that one's like even more like over the top, which is weird to say about Dune. Something was more, but it was cool to see Toto doing this. The cast was great. Like I was sitting for part of this at my desk watching this at work while I was working. If anyone I work with is listening, I was working.
You can do 2 things at once, guys.
Yeah, I'm multi-talented. But all of a sudden, Max von Sydow came on screen, and I said out loud to myself, Max von Sydow? Like I had no idea he was in this. Like, oh shit, okay, cool, this is awesome. He like brings some level of like respect, I guess, to something, at least before I finished this movie. I thought, it's like, all right, well, if he's here,
at the very least.
Yeah. If Max is doing this, it's like legit. But yeah, I mean, obviously Sting, Patrick Stewart, Sean Young was cool. Like I didn't know she was in this. Like it's crazy that she's maybe in like the best 80s sci-fi movie, possibly, arguably Blade Runner, and then maybe one of the worst 80s sci-fi movies. Like she was in both of these, which is
bookend Rushmore.
What a feat, Yeah.
Genre bookend Rushmore.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's like it's first entry right there. Hall of Fame. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I in reading the book, I was curious how they were going to adapt it. And it was just with a lot of whispering for some reason. Like there's so much whispering in this movie, like for the voiceover.
So like, you don't have acting.
Yeah. It's like, do people whisper to themselves in their head? Like it was really interesting that they did that, but I don't know. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'll stop.
Second moon.
Yes. It was just like too much.
There's the mind killer.
No one can hear you telepathically talking to someone. You don't have to whisper to them. Like it's fine. But the last thing it really cracked me up was at the end when all the leaders get on that circular bike thing, like, and they're just like looking at these lights, and it's just like, what is this? It just made me think of those, like, when you do those booze tours through a city and everyone has like pedal the bike, you know, around the city. It's like, is that where they got the idea for this? Because it's just like, it looked like 6 motorcycle bodies just like facing each other. Like, this is really weird.
They spent a fun weekend in Nashville. They saw a lot of bachelorette parties, and they're like, we got to do this. We got to do this for our world leadership, our galactic leadership.
Look, David, how are we going to depict this? I know exactly what we're going to do.
I know. Yeah, I got it. So yeah, I like that. This movie, it was fun. It's not good, but it was fun for sure. Yeah. It was like, okay, this is 80s sci-fi, exactly what I was anticipating, and yeah, I had a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, knowing it wasn't regarded as a good movie really helped, you know?
Yeah.
Because I've always been interested in this story. I've read the first little bit of this book a number of times, and I really like it. I just for whatever reason, I can't read like I used to. I can't read. You know, that's a breaking news here on the podcast. No, I just like whatever. So I actually was listening to the book on tape on my drive across the country recently.
Nice.
So that was cool. But I fucking love the Denis Villeneuve, however you say it, version so much. And I just think the story is so cool that I was like, you know what, man, like, I'm having fun watching this. There's a lot of stuff that looks really cool, and there's a lot of stuff about it that I did like. I liked the music, and there was like a lot to like about this movie, but unfortunately it was just so intermittent in between parts that like weren't great, you know, but it was still fun. And I just am like, the story's just so interesting and cool, and the dialogue is so great. Especially the parts that are pulled right out of the book, like my name is a killing word. Like, that's a incredible line.
Yeah.
That's like a fantastic, really cool thing to say. You know, just a number of different scenes and themes from the book from the story that I really enjoy. So I was like, I don't know, it's a cool story. And I think it's just like, the story is cool enough to like, you could tell it in any way and it would be enjoyable. Right. Like, I'm thinking of like like a ubiquitous like urban legend or something. Like, everyone has the same story and they all tell it in a different way, and some people are better at telling it than others, but it's always entertaining and still fun to tell around the campfire or whatever. And that's what Dune is to me. It's like, I don't know, man, just put it on screen, put the story on screen, and say some of the cool lines and do some of the fun stuff, and show me a worm, and let's get out of here. 2 hours, baby. Let's go.
Show me your worm.
And I guess there was a ton of extra stuff that they cut because the studio wanted it to come in at 2 hours, which, look, Matt and I are on record. Movies need to be shorter, but in this instance, you know, it might have helped to see some of the other stuff that Lynch wanted to do. Like, they had to throw in that voiceover, like you alluded to, Jake, and different things. So I'm curious to see if Lynch had the final cut, how much more disgusting, but possibly better this movie might have been. But
it's good.
Might have been more spittle.
More spittle. I was wondering that same thing, and I kind of assumed as much, but especially it seems like everything they took was out of the last third of the movie, where it's like, we're just going to be jumping, we're time hopping here. It felt like, you know, it's like, oh, all right, I don't know, now they're on the sand. Now that, like, there's just, it was all over the place. But the first 2/3 of the movie felt very, in my mind, it's like, okay, I'm following everything. This all makes sense. And then it's like, they started at the back and like just started trimming stuff there until they got it short enough. And because the last third is just breakneck. Like, I mean, we get this like climactic fight with Sting, and then it's like over 5 minutes later, like not even, you know, it's like, oh, okay, that was fast. I didn't realize, like, it makes me look forward to this next one, because I feel like breaking up into 2 movies is a good call. Like, from
totally
where I imagine
that's what I was just gonna say.
It's gonna split. Like, it makes sense.
I mean, just like you said, it's like the first 2/3 of the movie is a half of a movie, or a series, like a season of TV or something. And that last third where they're flying through, and all of a sudden Shawnee and him are in love or whatever, and all of a sudden his sister's born.
What?
And like, they're just like, boom, boom, boom. the movie's almost
central
over. We've
Dune
got so much
scene.
to talk about. You know,
Yeah.
it would have very much like to split that, just like, you know, Denis Villeneuve is doing. Like, that's a much smarter move. Or again, just do it as a TV show and spread it out and take your time.
Yeah.
Because there are a ton of things in there to talk about and go through. And yeah, it's like fun because with Dune, and they're doing it a little bit better in the Villeneuve movies, but even then, there's like, Dune is about a lot of different things, and even a lot of things that are a little like subversive and kind of anti, like it's a little bit of an anti-hero / commentary on like deifying leaders, that you shouldn't do that. It's a bad idea. And you lose that when it's a hero story. But you know, it would be interesting to see that a little bit more, instead of like all of a sudden Paul makes it rain at the end, which was also wild. So didn't quite line up. But yeah, it's funny how that last third is just breakneck, almost doesn't even do it justice how much crap happens.
So much.
It's crazy.
Makes me really retroactively appreciate the Villeneuve version, because I wasn't mad when it ended, but I didn't know we were in for a sequel, you know, when I saw it. And I loved it so much. I was so sad when it ended. I was like, fuck, I have to wait like 7 years or however long till this thing comes out. I don't know. I can't read and I can't do math. So big revelations here on the podcast. But I'm like, well, now I appreciate it more, because we see what happens if you rush this story.
Yeah.
And again, I enjoyed it, but it's just so much better if you do it the right way.
I watched this movie in preparation for the new one to come out in 2020 during the pandemic. And I was in like some like late night, I think it was like 1 a.m. stupor. And I watched this and like, I hated it. Like, I hated everything that I was seeing. That part of me that can appreciate.
I love your Letterboxd reviews so much.
The part of me that can appreciate like the culty, like bad is cool type thing in a movie was like completely dormant. Like, I just straight up hated it.
Had already gone to bed.
I had no intention of ever watching this movie ever again.
I love that much.
I'm not glad that I did. But at least this time I could appreciate, at least I was like in a more, you know, I was in a state where I could appreciate like, okay, yeah, like the score, some of the practical effects. I could be like, okay, there's some really dope things in this. But honestly, like the biggest takeaway from this, and I think like from anybody who's seen this movie, is just like how gross it is. If your takeaway from the Dune story is just like how gross the acne on the actors were, it's like, maybe it's not a great movie, because that shouldn't be your takeaway.
That's true. Yeah.
Too icky. Way too icky.
It was gross.
What do you think of the movie? The makeup was great. Yeah, okay.
Because it's so 0 to 60 or like 0 to 100. It's like everything else is like cool and sleek and pretty and like everyone's attractive. And then the Harkonnens are just
I did not want to look at them.
Disgusting.
No, so
it's not gross. Even it's just the scale is way too tilted. It's so
disgusting. Which leads me to the elevator pitch. Like, we're talking about something that we want to get off the screen, which is these gross acne riddled people. But what I want to talk about is what we want to see on the screen.
Okay.
And we're taking you into the elevator.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
You've got one scene to show someone to convince them to check this movie out. And I want to know what scene you're showing them. Jake, what are you pulling out?
It's a tough one, because again, we've kind of talked about it. It's like, it's a little bit schlocky and melodramatic, and there's a lot going on. The scene that had me dying, that I wanted to watch over and over again, was so fast and so quick. All of a sudden, Patrick Stewart as Gurney Halleck, who's like one of the military minds of House Atreides, they're under attack from House Harkonnen, and for some reason he's holding a pug, and he screams, "Long live Duke Leto!" and then runs into battle, and that's what happened.
With the pug.
With the pug in his arms.
So David Lynch
did
magic.
Watch this scene multiple times. I watched it twice. I was like, I can't fucking believe what I'm watching here.
That's such a good elevator pitch.
That's where this hits. It's like, I can't believe the choices that were made, and like, what is on screen here? Am I sure that I'm?
Which that's like what you're describing right there is usually my criteria for the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, how could this possibly be put on screen?
How is this happening? So that was one that, like, it's pretty short, and the battle scene isn't particularly good per se, but it's just one that you're just like, I have to figure out what's going on in this movie. The other one I would consider is also where the sandworm swallows the space mining rig, and it's mostly just because the effect is really cool. I also like that the inside of the ornithopter is basically a modern day top of the line Chrysler Pacifica.
Yeah.
Brown quilted leather everywhere, and I was just like, oh, they saw this coming. They saw this coming 40 years away.
Yeah.
But it like gives the vibe of the characters a little bit, and I think the effect of the sandworm swallowing the space mining rig is pretty cool. But it suffers from slowness, so that's why I think the one that wins for me is Patrick Stewart holding a pug, screaming, "Long live Duke Leto," and rushing into battle. Unreal.
So good.
Tyler, what do you
Apparently he was a mistake. Like, David Lynch thought he had cast a different Patrick Stewart. I guess. I don't know. I was reading on IMDb.
He got the right one.
So like,
imagine Sir Patrick Stewart being the wrong Patrick Stewart.
It's a happy accident for sure.
Ever in anything. He's walked into women's bathrooms. They're like, go on right ahead, Sir Patrick Stewart. This is where you belong.
Yeah. Use all of the toilets.
Whatever you desire.
I love this scene. I think it's a good scene to show for an elevator pitch because in this version, there's a little bit of like body horror. So it prepares you for some of the gross things coming up. It's a good example of like just a really cool story element that I've never really seen anywhere else. I'm sure it exists. I can't think of an example of it. And I remember it stuck out in reading the first part of the book, one of the many times that I've done it. But it's the scene where they test Paul for the first time with the box. The Reverend Mother tests him and tells him to put his hand in the box. And what's in that box, boys? This is a call and response, guys. It's pain. Did you watch the same movie?
Oh, were you actually quizzing us?
I didn't know it was an actual question. I thought you were going to follow it up.
Yeah.
I was afraid that I was walking into a trap.
Man.
Quite frankly, I was afraid of pain. And so
our rapport is off tonight.
That question was the box.
I blame Starlink. But yeah, no, I just think that scene is really cool. And it's I think the Bene Gesserit, obviously, like I imagine there's something to do with the Jedi that George stole from the Bene Gesserit. I don't know, but I think it's cool. I love that kind of lore and those types of powers and magic, you know what I mean? And I thought this scene was genuinely great in this movie, as well as in the new one, which we'll talk about next week. Stay tuned to watch your podcast feeds. Subscribe to 3 Films and a Podcast on all your socials. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is a cool scene, I just liked it. I think that's what I would show. And I'll try to pick a different scene next week, but I don't know. I just think it's really cool.
You might not be able to.
When I think about Dune, I think about this scene.
Yeah. It's where you get Fear is the Mind Killer, which is iconic for that. And the effect of the hand melting away and the fire, like good. It was incredible. That was like really,
it was
really
a very
cool.
effective scene.
And the fact that nothing is wrong with his hand, it was all, nerve endings, but that's what he felt like was happening was like a way cool way to illustrate it. I thought that was super, super creative.
Yeah, that's a great scene because it does like tie a theme to the movie that you might not, you quickly get distracted by so many other things in this movie.
To its detriment.
Yeah. Tying it back to that, I feel like is a good like sell for sure.
One thing about watching this was knowing how to pronounce things, because having read it, I just like in my own head, I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna say it like this. So watching it, I was like, oh, that's how they say it. But one of my favorite things about the book and this movie and stuff is like there are so many just like super weird, awkward names in this whole series. And then there's Duncan Idaho, who's like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? He's like run out of names. Like, it's so weird. It's the most like white dude name.
Oh
like,
man.
If you need,
it's cringy.
Like, yeah. It's like some character from America. Like, oh, let's call him Duncan Idaho. Yeah, I don't know. Not as cool as Johnny Utah, that's for sure. But
I was gonna say state names Rushmore, Johnny Utah and Duncan Idaho.
That'd be a good one. Maybe that's what I'll change mine to. Yeah. So my scene is basically I'm gonna try to dupe some kids into like going to see this, and I'm gonna pretend that first fight between Paul and I think Gurney, right? Is Patrick Stewart? I'm just gonna tell them it's like a leaked scene from the new Minecraft movie, and that they should watch it because those just look like I don't even play Minecraft, and I feel like that's
so
exactly
bad.
what they look like, you know. Yeah, it was so interesting. Like I can't see I have no idea what's going on here at all. Like just these squares.
Look, you got to try stuff, but they should have we could just pretend the shields are there, push a button on your belt and have a light. Like,
I
mean,
drop the opacity 50%, like something,
sure,
you know, but it's just like, what is going on?
Tyler mentioned this, like we talk about like cutting movies shorter, and part of that isn't to have like a shorter story, but just to like show the restraint and also like force yourself to tell a story in a different way that's more effective. But similarly with like special effects, especially during this time period, this like shows, I mean, Star Wars is cutting edge. Like they just did what they did so well, but it also shows some restraint on their end. Like they could have gone crazy with some of the special effects they were messing around with, and they knew where they could draw the line.
Yeah.
And just make it, you know, believably perfect.
Yeah.
And we saw what happens when there is no restraint. It's like, no,
it definitely felt like we can do this, so we're going to. Like a studio head was like, no, we are fucking doing this. Like they thought it was
Barry
so
already
cool,
spent 300 hours on this.
Yeah.
Seriously. You're gonna tell Barry that he just wasted 300 hours? He missed his son's birthday for this.
Our whole budget went to that.
The birth of his daughter. He was gone.
He's working on these squares. I want the intern to input the clip right here of Goldblum in Jurassic Park. You know, they thought they could, they didn't think if they should, kind of thing. So that's like exactly what this was. Like, I don't know that you should have done this at all, but
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
It meant that even Duncan Idaho, the coolest named dude in the universe, had the lamest, most ignominious death ever because he's a box. Someone shoots him with a thing and it just goes really slow. And he's gone. And that was it. Yeah. It's like, oh, that Duncan Idaho. Real strong dude. No, it was so lame. It made it so much worse that he was a little square box boy. And they got shot in the head really slowly. Like that sucks.
That box turned him into his own private Idaho.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Wow.
Cut that out.
Ben wasn't a fan.
Let's trim that clip. Yeah.
Remember we talked about showing restraint, knowing when to and when not to.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I'm just trying to dupe some kids into the Minecraft movie. That's it.
Good call. Good call.
Matt, don't ever change. Always be you. Keep saying things like that. Oh wait, I should have whispered it.
Yeah.
Telepathically to you.
No, you know what, Matt?
Be saying that.
Fear is the mind killer. Don't be afraid of your terrible parts. Don't be afraid.
That's right. If I pulled my hand, I would have died.
That's right.
I already forgot how it's pronounced in the movie, and I don't know how it's pronounced in the new movie. But Aaliyah, the sister, is it Aaliyah?
Rock the Boat, right? The R&B singer.
Yo. Yes, Aaliyah.
Yeah, Aaliyah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
yes,
Aaliyah.
of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're familiar. Keep going.
Yeah. My scene that I would show, and as Jake described far better than I've articulated on here, I like to pick the most bananas thing that you could possibly imagine on a screen, where you just like look at it, you're like, what the freak is going on here? Mm-hmm. And that scene where she's like revealed as Paul Atreides' sister, she's got that scary whisper, those haunting blue eyes, and like the people around her just like shocked and devastated by what they're seeing.
They are grossed out. They're them and us both disconcerted.
Yes. Disturbed. It was like one of the most disturbing portrayals I've ever seen. That's the scene I would show just for the shock of it.
Really. Yeah,
great use of the voice too. I really liked the voice in this movie, like the cool reverb and everything. Yeah. Like I really liked how that sounded in this.
There's I think it's the same scene that we're talking about, but the woman that had been a Jezreel lady, like, kill this child, she's an abomination. And then right after, she's like, get out of my mind. Like the way she screams.
Yes.
That was my second pick for a scene because like I love that so much. But when I saw you had that on there, I was like, all right, he's got to talk about that.
Yeah.
But the way she screams that, I was like, oh, this is a great scene to show somebody.
Poor Emperor. I'm afraid my brother won't be very pleased with you.
Silence! Kill this child. She's an abomination. Kill her.
Get out of my mind!
So we cut this segment early on in the pod, but we had a segment where when we were covering like a famous director or a famous artist, we were talking about what the isms are, like what makes us a Spielberg movie, what makes us and those like over dramatic. Well, first of all, we talked about one, like anything that's disgusting and gross and up close, like that's a Lynch, it's a Lynchian thing. But also those close up, like over dramatic, like outbursts are very Lynchian. And so if you're checking out other works of David Lynch, watch out for those things.
It's that quote, "Get out of my mind," said very high, is going to be my own inside joke, and I'm probably going to say it to my wife, and she's not going to be happy about it. So, just so you guys know what's going to happen in the Draper household over the next couple of weeks.
Yes. It'd be funny to do, and like she's like reading your mind in like a positive way, like you both like agree on something.
Yeah, we're like, hey, where do you want to go? McDonald's? You want a double cheeseburger?
Get out of my
mind. Well, we've established that that's an easy guess. Like, if Jake's trying to decide what's for dinner, we know what it is.
The grilled onions now, man. It's
beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Gotta do it.
So we're gonna do something. So Jake picking McDonald's is very predictable. What we're about to do now is not predictable.
Oh.
We're introducing for the first time the backwards Rushmore, which is basically what Rushmore category of your own would you make Dune 84 a part of?
These are OR scrubs. Oh, are they?
I typed it out much better there.
That's good.
So, Jake, I'm curious, what Rushmore Mountain that you've created in your mind does Dune 84 belong to?
So we covered this a decent amount, which makes me think I want to pivot. I initially thought that I wanted to do this as it would go on the Rushmore of examples of why modern CGI is necessary, because again, some of those shots were just not great. As good as some other ones were, like as impressive as like the hand in the box, that effect was, there were equally as bad blue screen shenanigans that were just terrible. But I think that this one especially and specifically is going to go on the Mount Rushmore of the book is better than the movie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it's a relatively easy one, but that's where I think it has to go. There are a lot of ones that can go into that list, which is basically like, I don't know, most book adaptations. There are some that probably wouldn't. I think Fight Club might go as the movie is better than the book. No offense to the Chuck Palahniuk stands out there, but this I think is going on my Rushmore of the book is better than the movie.
Love it.
Didn't Chuck even say that at one point? Didn't he say the movie's better than the book or something like that? Like they nailed it. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that, but like I've read both, or I've read the book and seen the movie, and the book is really awesome and incredible, but the movie's just like bonkers. Just incredible.
It doesn't have Brad Pitt.
True.
I mean, and Edward Norton.
Here's a question for you, Jake. The new Dune, does that also fall under that category so far?
No.
The movie's better than the first part of the book?
I think that at least they are relative equals in their own set of the form. Meaning, Dune as a movie Dune Part 1 is a great movie, where Dune, the first half of that book, is a very good book. And so I think them doing different things in their different respective art forms succeed. Because that's the other problem too, is like books are hard because they're long and you're trying to stuff what honestly that's why short stories make good movies, because there's a very small arc and limited characters, and a thing is happening where books can meander and have a lot more characters and talk about a lot more things. Nice. But I think that Dune is successful in doing the movie. That's like,
Jurassic Park as a book is a great book. The movie is fucking awesome. They're both really great. Awesome. Like one doesn't have to be better than the other. We've talked about this a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like exactly what you're talking about. They can both be great. Like,
yes,
you get more from a book, obviously, because you can do more. It's easier to do exposition. It's easier to explain things. You can't just show it. You know what I mean? So
I disagree.
I think, you don't like Jurassic Park, the movie?
No, I'm just kidding.
I had this argument with someone that it was in talking about the new Lord of the Rings TV show, which has its own things, but they were like both pieces of art exist. And if the TV show isn't a good TV show, or like the Lord of the Rings movies are awesome movies, irrespective of the books.
I've seen
like
them.
You've seen them, and they're good. Like they
Helm's Deep.
And they both exist doing their own specific thing. If you wanted to, like, I don't want to just have someone read the book and act out the book. Like, do what a TV show can do. And so I got in a bit of an argument with this person by saying, go read the Silmarillion if that's what you care about. Like, it's there for you. It exists.
Yeah. You don't watch a basketball game with the rule book in your hand.
No, like, it's crazy. It's like, also the Silmarillion. Ben flipping through.
Ben at a Jazz game.
I got my NBA.com app open the whole time. Like,
NBA rules and conduct, page 35, section 5, paragraph 2 clearly states.
The league is atrocious.
But we backdoored into the actual Rushmore, which is movies that are at least as good as the books. And it's Fight Club, Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park, and Dune Part 1. So there we go.
Solid list.
I like it.
Solid list.
I'm into it.
Ben, what are you putting on your reverse Rushmore? What Rushmore is it?
Okay. Also, if this idea doesn't work, it wasn't my idea. I don't know who to blame, but also if it works, then it was
this
all
idea
me.
rules.
Oh, I thought, okay.
It's like it
was my idea.
The Michael Scott, Willy Wonka thing.
Yes,
like I want all the credit and none of the blame. That's what I want here. So I just thought one of the interesting things here was Patrick Stewart's mullet at the end of the movie, which I really enjoyed. Or skullet, I guess it would be. So I just thought I want to see 3 other movies where he has cool hair, or just like hair. Cause obviously here anyways, and probably a lot of our listeners very familiar with X-Men. I grew up with Star Trek with my dad. So like, I remember watching, Next Generation, all that kind of stuff. But I was like, I think it'd be fun to come up with 4 movies where Patrick Stewart has hair and watch those. Like that would be the Rushmore. And I think this would make it just for the mullet alone. It's like, that's how they show time passed. He now has a mullet and he didn't earlier, his hair is longer. So it's like, oh yeah, that is the passage of time. So that's when we go with Patrick Stewart with hair.
Love it.
He shows up with a very curly head of hair in an adaptation of Shakespeare that I saw in high school. And it blew my mind. I can't even remember which play. Was it Macbeth or Hamlet? One of those two.
Yeah.
Blew my mind whole. Like tight curls. Tight gray.
Wow.
Like, dude,
curls.
Pulling it off. I know.
Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Patrick.
And I was like, it was one of those things where it's so mysterious that I didn't want to like figure out, is this a wig? Is that his normal hair? I just left it. I just want that image just always living here, just rent free.
Throw it on
it's a beautiful
list,
image.
It's on the Mount Rushmore.
I'm jealous I don't have it in my head. So I'm going with best box scenes. Best use of a box.
What's in the box?
That's the other one. Oh no, you're still doing Dune. I was transitioning to 7. What's in the box?
I didn't mean to step on your toes. I was going to see if you were doing the call and response of what's in the box.
No, see, we're way off tonight. I gotta get Elon on the horn. You're messing up my podcast.
That's on me.
Flow,
it's on me. We'll cut it.
Honestly, it was probably the way I started the show. If we're gonna rewind,
we start all over.
It's because it's past my bedtime here, fellas.
From the top,
my brain stopped working. So yeah, we've got this. We've got 7. If you count a briefcase, we could put Pulp Fiction in here.
I do.
It's box. Yeah. It's got the right amount of sides and whatnot. I don't know. Those are the 3 I can think of right now. But yeah, best use of a box.
I like it.
If we branch to video games, Metal Gear Solid, hides in a box. Iconic.
A lot of great box gags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're counting fridges. We can do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, yes.
Kind of a box.
That's
a cold box.
No,
the ice
I don't
box.
allow it. This is my
It's called the ice box, right?
Oh, all right.
Yes.
You got me back. You reeled me back in.
Icebox.
We're here. We're
The
back.
red-lined icebox. The
Box has to be in the title.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, now you made me think of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I'm all upset.
It's my favorite
Okay.
Indiana Jones movie.
What? That movie rules.
Watch it again, Jake.
Look,
Yeah.
we have a whole
Watch
episode
it again.
about this.
Where
Jake,
am
watch
I?
it again.
In fact,
You're
it
in
made me
Dune.
realize, and this is relevant to the upcoming Indiana Jones, and it's not getting great reviews. But I would contend to you that none of them are actually good. We just like them. You know what I
We
mean?
are
Like,
very.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I just for the record again, we're a very friendly Kingdom of the Crystal Skull friendly podcast.
Yeah.
And it was all on a revisit. So
I forgot about this, and I shouldn't have opened my mouth. I didn't realize I was.
That's okay.
Well,
It's okay,
You're
Jake.
welcome to
It's
your
okay. Person
opinion.
to
I'm
this
just saying.
again.
Hey, mistakes have happened
All
on this
Indiana
pod before.
Joneses-
We're also a very forgiving podcast,
I
which is
appreciate
why
that.
which is why we like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Very kind. Shia LaBeouf is freaking the vine.
Okay,
That
look,
Yeah,
Jake.
it was
Jake.
great.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Okay, we're taking side. No, side. No, we'll go there. We'll go there. We'll sidebar. Jake, you get thrown out of a vehicle in the jungle. You get thrown into some vines.
Yeah.
Surrounded by monkeys.
Yeah.
And the monkeys start swinging. You're telling me you wouldn't start swinging? You
Evolution, Jake.
would you,
Come on.
would
Tell
you
me
or would you
honestly.
not start
Tell me
swinging?
with a straight face.
Answer the question.
I
Would
mean,
you or would you?
I would
You're
probably try
surrounded
to
by monkeys.
swing.
They
You're
start
right.
swinging. Yeah, you would start swinging.
Natural instinct.
Look,
Yeah,
short-rounded
I mean-
Indiana
Okay.
Jones fell out of an airplane in a rubber raft and landed in a river from like 1,000 feet, and they were fine. If we
But
can
there was
excuse
a-
that, we can excuse the swinging.
That's
No
Just
need.
saying.
No need to excuse the swinging.
Welcome it all. And now I know what to look
Oh,
forward to in
gosh.
that movie.
Oh yeah, I want to rewatch all of them, including Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, up here soon. It's been a hot minute since I've seen them, so it's about
They're
time.
great. They're all so fun.
Yeah. So we'll circle back to backwards
Sorry.
Rushmore.
Hold on, let's litigate this movie we've already talked about on an
You know,
episode a little bit longer.
Mount Rushmore of Indiana Joneses.
We'll take
and
any
there are the
detour.
four right
There you
there.
go.
Mine would be knife fights. You know, you get Sting in a knife fight, he's
Yeah.
gonna make a Rushmore.
Yeah.
Period.
Oh yeah.
And it works perfectly because we're about to cover 2 movies in a row that have knife fights
Oh,
with West Side Story.
okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
If you like knives and fights, yep, you're gonna get
And
some knife
snapping.
fights there. Oh,
Last snapping.
ooh,
My favorite
just
part.
you wait.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
just you wait.
Look, there's 3 things on
Um,
this podcast that's revealed I can't do. I can't read, I can't do math, and I can't snap my fingers. And that one's real.
That is
Wait,
true.
wow. 2 truths. What?
Two truths and
2
a
lies
lie.
and a truth or whatever.
So on trivia night, without questions asked, you'll know.
Are there 3
can't
films
snap.
trivia for the 3-year anniversary?
Yeah,
Watch her in there.
it's trivia night.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
Which ubiquitous skill can Tyler not perform? Reading.
So I mean that concludes our discussion on this. Unless is there anything else anyone's dying to bring up on this movie?
I have one very quick thing that we don't need to like dive into a lot, but I was surprised to see this came out before Labyrinth because I thought for sure that Sting had stolen Bowie's look, like with the hair, like that kind of thing. Like, oh, it seems very inspired by that. But then Labyrinth came out 2 years after this, so maybe it was the other way around. Maybe Bowie saw Dune and was like, I kind of like what Sting was doing, but let's ramp it up even more because it kind of felt like, what is it, Gareth? I forget his name in Labyrinth, but he was
either.
I don't know. He had crazy hair and those collars and stuff like that. I was like, okay, this kind of seemed like maybe they're related on some alternate universe, but that was it. I was just
It kinda
surprised that
makes-
this came out before Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I liked Sting in this, but I just think David Bowie should be, if there's a musician in your movie, it should just be David Bowie. This is the Jake Gyllenhaal, Maggie Gyllenhaal replacement theory.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a musician in your movie, just make it David Bowie. Now, I know we can't do that anymore, but when you could, you should have, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It
Couldn't
ought to
agree
have been
more.
David Bowie. Yeah.
Because you know what you've been fighting with? A Bowie knife. Right?
Oh, wrap it up.
Right?
Roll
Every knife's
credits.
a
That
Bowie
was
knife.
perfect.
It's funny because Matt, you mentioned that knife fight, but how unhinged was it that he like pokes out a knife from like his rib cage.
Very strange.
Yeah.
We're like, what was that? That was so weird.
It was a very interesting, oddly paced, oddly framed knife fight.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just like the Sting effect.
Yes.
You have Sting in it. It's so weird.
You aren't wrong, and like bring up Bowie and bring up anybody who's like kind of a megawatt star, except for Harry Styles. They are like very compelling on screen, and that's how I felt about Sting too. I was like, every time he was on, doing a smirk and just looking good, I was like, dang, like let's look at Sting some more. Put more of him in there.
He was supposed to be nude in this too. I'm bummed. We got robbed. The producers chickened out at the last minute. Yeah.
Oh, so that's when they put that
G-string. They made it right before production.
That metal G-string.
That was
Dang.
That was a last minute addition to production. He was supposed to be fully nude. What a shame.
It's Dune, not nude, Tyler.
I told you I can't read. Quit rubbing this in.
You like throw the book, like, what is this?
There's no pictures. This book's called Dude. There's no pictures. What's
This is a strange, flappy box. What is happening? I said I wanted box movies, not actual weird boxes.
Yeah.
What was in the box?
Pain.
Terrible way to have your dyslexia act up on you.
Oh man. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Jake, for this discussion. Dune 84 was definitely a trip. Even despite any negative feelings towards us, we recommend anybody watch it and check it out to form their own opinions, but at least experience it, especially leading up to these newer adaptations. But thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Hey! You idiot!
Start over.
Sir, I placed a bunch of golden tickets into 5 separate boxes, and somehow they all ended up at Blue Cross. How does this happen?
Were the boxes near each other?
Irrelevant.
I put 3 pallets on a truck to Blue Cross once a week. They use a lot of paper.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. What is a pallet?